The majestic tree of integrity. Your Zenethstran ancestors sowed this before the capital had its name. My father nursed this tree, as have I, and now the honor is bestowed to you. The arms of the child shake under the weight of the watering pot. His attention is taken, his expressions are caught in scrutiny. It's as if the boy was trying to drown a single root. It symbolizes the perpetual growth of our city, and you must live up to its merits. It is your duty to outgrow me and raise children of your own that will outgrow—
Why does the tree scream?
Scream? I hear nothing. Don't be outlandish. Trees do not scream, boy. Come now, your mentor finds satisfaction in punishing the tardy. Did you know, in ancient times, trees walked this way? Down, deep underground, the series of unseen trials of athleticism advanced to its climactic end. An exclusive crew of battle-hardened Vanadium compete for the opportunity to become the new Warlord. Rotbomb, the semi-final event. Contenders can only maneuver with their hands by swinging on the narrow roots of the great tree. Weapons of Rotbomb are strictly limited to feet. To claim victory is to kick your opponent off the obstacle and watch them sail into a tremendous fall. The dirt dome soaks up the sound of erupting cheers as two challengers above climb to imminent engagement. Barukai from the western jungles of Fontiquida. She is one of the few women worthy enough to be a respected warrior within the Vanadium Brotherhood. Her strength and resilience have rewarded her with a chance to face Symer, the younger brother of Erlo and a growing asset in the eyes of his new family. The odds of the gambling spectators favor their sister. She is merciless, and in comparison to Symer has won thrice as many conflicts throughout her career. Sons do not take lineage as promises of what you can be. They only see action. They only see blood. The younger lad grabs hold of a sturdy root and throws both feet toward Barukai's body. Her right leg arches into a crescent kick to divert his efforts. Hands reversing to turn her backside to him, she wraps her legs around his waist and lets her grip go, hanging upside down off of him. Symer, struggling to hold the doubling weight, punts a kick to her face, but the foot is captured between her head and shoulder. She snags a lower branch to pull them down. Symer's fall is quickened by the elegant toss. Like a bolt of lightning, he craters to the ground from the 50-foot fall. His body is as broken as the tiles beneath him. Chemists fight their way through the feral crowd as they pounce in joy and claim their bets and celebrate the anticipated moment of the final event, Barukai and Dwareck in an unarmed duel. The underlayers of the sun serve as a chamber of discourse for the monarchs that guide the mercenaries. The secrecy of this place keeps the darkened corner of the clan out of public sight, preventing any outside eavesdroppers. Around the table in the main auditorium sits the members of the Royal Shadows, the father mind of the Hive and conductor of Vanadium ambitions. The Royal Shadows are composed of the acolytes that follow and study the workings of Thotima, creator of the magicked School of Malediction, the youngest form of perceived magic in Tellus and potentially the most devastating. Thotima was born with the common blood type of an inheritor, which bears the inability to conjure magic. Regardless of this genetic flaw, he followed his calling as an invoker and scribed the spells as he understood it. The scriptures were procured by a cult of necromancers, eventually being deciphered and titled as Malediction, the school of lingering hexes, permanent curses, and demonic influences. During the untold war of the necromancers' sway, a machinist named Plart and his company killed Fatima and took the book. However, the fortune of this artifact was the inventation of his own assassination. Their records were eradicated, and the book was once again free. The pages found their way into the hands of a scion, and he kept this newfound power under his reign ever since. The resurgence of Fatima's work created the Royal Shadows. Camus, Revik, Griselda, Larbel, Morson, all sages dedicated to the dark arts, ruled under the psionic power of Sigma.
What a truly fascinating soul. I can't restrain my envy for his longevity. Yes, 166 years in our discipline would make the elder appear as an apprentice.
Hardly. Vone has no will of his own. He's a mindless shell who fetches for the dead. May as well be cursed.
He makes his way towards Land's End. Should I poison their harvest to sweeten their final meal?
No, a hex of that expertise would not settle in the eyes of Zenethstra. We should not take any more risk that can shake their trust. Then let's lure him in with trials. Trials? By what gains would make him cooperate? He does not seek the means of normal men.
His means of survival. Send the avians. Tell them to destroy his homeland. If he allows himself to be taken, then he will be disposed.
And if he kills the creatures, he will redress our orders and walk into his execution.
We can always cover the wreckage if things get carried away.
The 5 members turn to Sigma to seek his vacant approval. The scion does not speak. He rarely has to. Telepathy is an often misunderstood power. It does not take place in one's own head. It is not a conversation. There is no exchange of words. It is the psionic altering of one's mind to reconstruct your perception and understanding of who the scion is, how they would think and act in a given situation. Your instinct will show you the pathways of the scion's reasoning, penetrating your intentions, and the hunch will be correct, because they made you sense it. Much like being able to finish someone else's... Well, go on. Now you understand.
My lords and lady, the final game is upon us. It would encourage the clan if we were in their sights as they entered the arena, as it excites us to perform the ceremony for our new champion. Come now, we mustn't be late. Let me through! Forgive me, my shades. I have urgent news about Vone and his insights. I will stay and listen to our young son. Please enjoy the game's end.
The Royal Shadows nod in agreement. They smile at the boy as they dismiss themselves from the room.
Come and join me for some Icaberry wine. Yes, sir. I don't believe I've had this before. To the deepest south you can go before the water takes the land. There are people who fare within a grossly heated climate. They do not build cities like us. They are overgrown by thick foliage and war together with the savage animals that run the woodlands. Wow, this is great, though it's a little too bitter for my taste. Yes. The bitterness adjusts your tongue to extract certain flavors within our morsels. I apologize. We did not leave any for unexpected guests.
Reese questions the way he barged in. He did not know if he upset or interrupted the importance of the Shadow's time. He wants to tell him about his encounter with Vone, but does not want to cut short his tale about the wine.
The Icaberry didn't always grow on their vines until we strained every living creature of their blood and allowed this invasive plant to feed on their coagulated soils.
Reese acquires memories that are not his of this blood-clotted berry in these unknown lands. He tries to spit out the drink.
Please enjoy, I insist.
He cannot blink. He cannot look away or scream for help he knows will not come. Uncontrollable hands bring the chalice to his lips and he gulps the rest of the wine down. He unlatches the heavy belt that holds his weapons and takes off his tough leather attire. Standing naked, with an unmoving gaze, he stares at Sigma, who is also motionless. The sage's shirt appears to be dampening with sweat. His forehead is caving in. Eyes drooping apart like heated wax. Face sinking into a fat neck. The only sound is his own increasing heart rate. A skeletal head breaks from its robe, held in by bony ribs, arms as large as legs, feet as functional as hands. A spiderous jump grabs its prey and begins to eat the boy whole. The Colosseum is gorged with bystanders, only having enough room for Barukai to ride past the men on Radel, her dire honey badger from the homeland. Her orange mane is coarse and dirty. Hair around her eyes and ears are unevenly cut short to keep her perception clear. This woman is ugly by the standards of noblemen. However, her motions in combat could be mistaken as a beguiling dance. She dismounts the beast and cages it. Radel does not hesitate in devouring whatever aggresses on its master. Across the ring, she sees Dwareck waiting patiently.
Maybe they should cage you and let the badger fight. Would have better odds.
No odds with Radel. Would be too quick. More fun to be had when you lose to woman.
You think yourself a woman? You're a bitch at best. After this, not even the dogs will bed you.
The two will fight until the other refuses or cannot lift their hands from the dais. Both warriors are stripped from their weapons, clothes, shoes, jewelry, everything. A perfectly balanced duel. The moment you enter the ring is the moment the event begins. They enter cautiously. They circle defensively. A few feints were displayed, but none were taken. They know each other's every move. Barukai launches herself into a flying kick, expecting it to be blocked. She uses the obstructed velocity to spin down, resetting her movement into a powerful low sweep. Both feet were withdrawn, but she knows Dwareck will not land prone. While falling off balance, his cheekbone was met with a rising elbow. He grabs a leg and pulls it to a throw behind him, breaking her series of attacks. Her skin burns and tears as it slides across the jagged floor. She quickly recovers on all fours and circles again, moving as if she was the great badger herself. Dwareck tries to straight leg and stomp out this animalistic movement, but her tumbling rolls keep slipping away. He drives a rounded haymaker towards her and smiles when he feels the weight of impact. The woman was scooped up with this swing but not struck. The grip around his arm was that of an iron cobra. Each foot strikes out and pulls his head in, locking the arm into submission. She throws her body back and attempts to dislocate his joints. Dwareck uses all of his strength to lift her up. He does not stall even through the fracturing cracks. Barukai is then slammed on the flat of her back from on high. The breath flees from her lungs and she begins gasping. His left clenches, hammer fists exploding down over her. The right remains swollen, black, and in fragments. She is beaten until her body goes limp. He stands up and shoots a salute to his fellow brethren, but he sees them pointing over him. In the midst of turning in disbelief, her body pummeled into his, a lunatic's attempt to inflict one more wound. She bites into his chest, sinking teeth into hardened muscle. Dwareck plucks her off and she spits the chunk of meat into his face and thrusts both knees into his chin. Stumbling back into a slight daze and still holding the elevated woman, he spurs a headbutt into her mouth, tearing through lips and breaking her smile. She drops again, this time remains unconscious. Dwareck stands on her chest and basks in victory. The heel roughly turns as he steps off her body and exits the ring. Healers rush over to both contenders.
Go and fix her up! I don't need your medicines!
He goes to push them aside, but the broken arm does not flinch. The chemists ignore his words and start injecting and splinting to repair the damage. He looks at Barukai's body with silent respect. It only lasts a few seconds before the egotistical facade checks his emotion. Dwareck hears the spitting snarls of Radel a few feet away from him and decides to speak with it.
You serve the wrong master, stupid beast!
Radel slams against a cage in protest. He grabs its snout through the bars and digs his fingers in sharply, drawing pitiful yelps from the angry badger.
Honor cannot be bought. It cannot be stolen or forged alone. And it is Dwareck who rises to the top of what we honor as sons. Vanadium is a wealth of battle. We have always bested throughout our biddings. You have proven yourself to be indestructible at warfare. Always remember, you are brothers first. You hold each other accountable. You push each other past the expectations. And for this, I admire you. This is what our enemies lack. They fight because they are told to. They fight without meaning. Whoever acquires our service may be our allies in contract. But they are not our blood. Do not forget that. Dwareck, let us begin the undertaking of your ceremony.
Two men bring a lengthy cape of bright gold and deep purple. They drape it across his shoulders, and it is kept in place with nails and forced into his overdeveloped traps. He walks over to the cold iron table in front of the shades and eases onto it, stomach first.
Look around. This is the last time you will see this world through the eyes gifted from Tellus. By closing them, you will leave an everlasting mark for both your enemies and the ones who seek the power that you will display.
The freshly bloodied cape is thrown overhead. Camus holds a chisel up to the back of the neck and with a mallet bangs it in, demolishing the nervous system. Morson's dirk starts to cut in an unwavering line from the insert to the tailbone. The skin and muscles are pulled apart, showing a clear view of the spine. The final component is a long hair from their deceased mentor. Griselda lays it parallel to the opening and begins weaving it with every inner working of the vertebrae. Sigma and the others begin chanting a doomed song. The spell writers pool their mana and channel this conduit to take demonic energy through the strands of hair.
We guide your name to fruition, Mimosh the Bedlam. We give our greatest warrior to you. Bring to him your power, bring to us your secrets!
The body begins to stir. Before his back is fully stitched together, a bright light shines through, as if a torch was left burning inside the man.
Move him as you wish to move. Feel what we feel in our flawed existence. Let us collapse the realms of time so that we may know what we truly are!
A cool breeze fetches the smell of salty water and fresh fish. The hustle of this town never seems to be hindered. Docks are loaded and well scheduled, taverns are loud and abundant. An astonishing view of the changing ships matching the oceanic ebb and flow out to the unknown world. This is Land's End. Vone is home. He has to remind himself that this is not for leisure. He must keep the urgency of his mission in view and begins to look for Onius's legacy. Vone does not feel the need to sneak around or hide from the myths he is defined by. This town is accustomed to new visitors in its regular day-to-day, minding one's own business as a general rule. Although asking about such an infamous figure may provoke some unwanted attention, he must try to find her research on the low. As determined as Vone is, homesickness is not something he thought he would be taken by. Being in the presence of his old house hit him harder than any foe could. The new owners have expanded it. Seems to be a thriving inn for the docking sailors. The renovations kept true to its original design. It looks as ageless as Vone himself. An instant decision was made to rent a room here, as he will be staying for a few nights. What better choice than to fit as much from this sojourn as possible?
You're in luck. This room hasn't been taken and presents the best view of the sea.
My old room.
Vone thinks to himself of his youth, of his sister Rona. So many memories more than 2 lifetimes ago.
Not even Tellus knows the beauty it creates. This will disturb my studies. Forgive my odd request, but I need something a little more dull.
Okay, right. Across the hall.
She brings him to his parents' room.
Whoever controls fate or chance must be enjoying this. Thank you. This room will be fine.
The keeper shrugs and walks away. Vone can't even enter the room before the pains of the past pour into his consciousness. He reflects as he looks in.
They shared this dwelling for 60 years. I wonder if this was the first room they slept in when they dreamed of their family to be. I wonder how many nights my parents stared into my chambers before I was conceived, planning on how to make this home suitable for my sister and I.
Vone leaves his equipment and heads past the plowlands to the whispering maw of decay. The cave his first mentor brought him for rookie swordplay and wraithsaying. The mouth to the underground is located a few hundred yards from Onius's residence, which makes for a decent marker in this unfamiliar town. Her house was gone, just more farmland in its place. Disappointed, Vone turns to the street vendors. Perhaps her belongings are where the broken and stolen things make their way to the bazaar. Hours stray. With half the tents explored, he comes across a pile of books with the all-too-familiar O sigil. A quick glance at these diaries reveal paragraphs hidden behind random sketchings of her child, her demon lover, and the place she was taken to.
How much for the collection?
1 crown.
A full crown? Now I know why they grow dusty on your shelves. My offer is generous, a half-crown.
Ha! You look like a great warrior. Men who have lived on the razor's edge walk the way that you do. Deep in thought, lost in your own tale. Your goals are narrow. You didn't even look at my other wares. I can charge you 2 crowns for these books, and you'll pay!
I hate the tongue of bartering. Very well, 1 crown. Is there any other knowledge around here bound by this woman?
No, sir, this is the last. I saved these from the burnings after she died. I must ask, what is your benefit of paying for useless stories? I read every word of these books. It's as disoriented as her mind was when she scribed them.
Did you know her?
Ah, that is another transaction. I have some insight, but it will cost...
He slams a coin to the table. Everybody stops and looks around. Vone gets quiet.
I could starve your purse if I wanted to. My price is fair. I am not your enemy.
Tell me everything.
She died poor and alone in these streets when I was young. My mother tried to help her, but the family business reeked of judgment for her kindness. As you can imagine, surviving communal pressure is the harbinger of coin. So my father threw her out. She screamed the same tales to the same listeners. Men traveling through abused her with false leads of hope at the cost of betting. She became physically ill and diseased. People were tired of it. First they burned her house, then her work. An attempt to remedy her insanity. It did not work. Who are you, stranger? You look familiar.
Costigan, his surname. Vone Costigan hasn't entered his thoughts in so long. A name he wanted to say out loud. A name that died with his father. Vone gives the man another coin.
I am no one. Thank you, my friend. Keep your family's kindness alive.
Vone brings the new purchase back to his rented room. It's odd to see so many drunkards stumble throughout his old home. The entrance of the tavern is filled with the night people. Happiness and laughter splash onto each other like they're overpoured mugs at the bar top. All their weapons are openly exposed. This place is truly majestic if it can make the boatmen from different parts of Tellus as peaceful as these folks are. Or perhaps everyone is considerate of respect at the risk of having their skulls split. Vone locks himself away and sets up the room to be comfortably immersive for the immense research. Majority of the reading is refreshing his own memory of the tragedies he witnessed when he was young. They are more devastating now that he is able to maturely comprehend. Most of the noise downstairs is gone, just the maids cleaning and a few who cannot rest until their body shuts down from the drink. Vone flips a page and finds a section on the Genergos, the very restoration he swore to defend. It reads, "The Genergos is a self-correcting system, a cleansing of energy for the planet to use as it sees fit. It was born from chaos and sustained by time. Chaos is the mother of all creation, and always paths its own escape. With every natural law there is a space that is suppressed, complex locks within the cleansing that only hatred can break. Everything is antithetical. Where there is order, there is incompatibility. Something will find a way to break through. The first Lord of Inertia has picked this lock and smashed the doors open for more to follow. The nativity of demons was originated, the opposite of the Genergos, and it slowly grows with each day. There will be an inevitable point, as if it were an unturned hourglass, where these universal laws are reversed." Vone closes the tome and lays back unto his bed. He falls into thoughts of this book, thinking, drifting, packing it away in his memory through sleep.
Arm yourselves! Find a weapon!
He peels for the window and stares into the blackness. The charring flames that kept the square illuminated have been blown out, masking all but the escaping sounds of fear in the dark.
No! No! Ah!
Where is Vone? Turn him over, we shall offer peace as your reward.
I'm telling you, we don't know who that is.
Well now, what good are you then? Anyone else dare to be useless around here? Or are we ready to squeal?
Vone puts on his equipment and runs out the room. He is met by the creatures who use a civilian to crash the barred door.
What is the meaning of this?
It's the Fell Speaker. So nice of you to invite us into your nest.
3 7 feet tall, wide-waisted, feathered avian humans, the wings and the beak of a hawk, standing hunched but strong, with the frame of a ginormous baboon. The one speaking with Vone stays engaged, but the other two lose attention and begin skewering the tavern folk. A spear removes a heart through the back of a man trying to protect the young woman. Vone sees the cold terror distort her face. Her face, those features. It can't be. She looks like
Rona.
Vone ends the indecisiveness and jumps from the railing and flashes out both weapons, landing in the space between the lass and the mutant.
Rona!
The girl looks confused. The spear is ripped out of the body and thrust towards the woman.
No!
2 ghosts surge out, lifting the girl and quickly fleeing away to the other corner of the bar. Vone initiates with a quadra attack, each hit with all of his might to even the odds before the fight truly broke. Chunks of stone flew off the bird with every cut, 4 rocks crashing into the table and chairs around them. There is powerful magic protecting these beasts, but from whom? He cannot waste any more time, the bird astray still knocking men dead one by one, a count for every swing.
The Wraith.
Vone bends under the swipe of the spear and jumps, Maxilla grabbing the ledge to the upstairs floor and pulls himself up, sprinting to the room for the cloak.
After him!
The avian creatures fly up and dive through the hallway. One snags his knee just before he gets inside the room. Vone hooks his bag with the fang of the axe just before the birdman takes him through the roof. The 3 birds juggle him across the sky, ascending and descending with dive attacks from their pointed posts, elevating him higher. The sounds of metal deflecting metal boom through the dead of night. Soaring a few hundred feet away from the faint light of the town, he will not be able to see and stop the charges. He sheathed his weapons and cast a spell that lines the clasping talon with grease. He calls forth another guardian spirit to brace for the next hit. The flying ape slams into Vone with enough force to wedge his leg from its prison. He falls free and covers himself in the Wraith. The selvage of the cloak begins to glow, the great blue so bright. You can no longer portray him. The skin is veiled, dark like an eclipse. It's as if an invisible creature stands between them, blocking the light, always facing him, always keeping him within the shadow. Garbed in the ghost, walking across time. Dead humans of the past and those who have yet to exist on Tellus are the beholder of what he has become. The Wraith. Vone steadies his fall. Maxilla and Mandible are slowly ushered back into play. The birds stay beneath the radiance. They drift with him, trying to comprehend what this is. Vone skips through space towards the avian leader and arrives before its guard can be lifted. Mandible is blitzed around his body into a crescent wave. Distorted sounds of cracking thunder cries out across Saoleos. Feathers form low clouds in the night sky, and the ruined body of the beast cascades back to the land. The other two reinforce their grip around their spears and synchronize a dive attack. Maxilla brings one overhead while Mandible drags the other down. Both tips are deflected and separated from their pikes. Two kicks slash in retaliation, pushing the foes back just enough for Vone to twist into a bladed vortex. Whistling steel cuts through flesh and bone. They are rendered dead before the storm was finished. Levitating down with the mist of blood, the light begins to fade and stops when both feet are fixed to the ground. The creatures show no insignia, but he knows in his gut of who sent them, Vanadium. They neglected his warning and will learn the strength of his word. He will correct them with death. A stone splits the skin on his forehead, breaking his thoughts. He is circled by the townsfolk.
Leave here and never return, protector of nothing, glorified fraud. My child is dead because of you. Your kind has caused nothing but problems in our peaceful village. Do you see any Wraithsayers left? They bring nothing but foul play with the natural way of things. Go die in exile with the rest of them.
Exile? Is it exile you want? So be it. You will lose me. But strike me again and you will all beg for the monster's return.
Vone instantly regrets his tone. Perhaps they are right. Families are forever broken, not by his hand, but by his presence. He has become so calloused around the dead that he has lost touch with what it means to be human. The townsfolk shout slurs and slanders, confirming their fear that this legendary man is not a savior, but a threat. Saddened, he grabs his things and leaves. His sorrow turns back into hatred for the sons and swears an oath to end them.
Thank you for listening to the second episode of the Wraith Redress. It doesn't always take crowns to help this fantasy flourish. A simple like and share and telling a friend will do. But some of you have coin purses that runneth over. Yes. You good people should subscribe to our Patreon at Patreon/Project FullBlade. And I will make sure my wares will keep you satisfied. If you would like to become part of this movement, email us at party@projectfullblade.com.